be any of the developed countries or the developing countries that succeeded without infrastructure. And the infrastructure are roads, rail, and power.
President Muhammadu Buhari calls on Nigerians to be fair in their criticism of his administration.
NLC begins test running of e-ticketing for the Abuja-Kaduna train service.
Created a new scene in this place.
Very, we cannot even compare before and now.
National Youth Service Corps says adherence to COVID-19 protocols non-negotiable.
And good morning, Nigeria. Today, we remember our fallen heroes as Nigeria marks Armed Forces Remembrance Day today.
The 15th of January is set aside by the Nigerian government as Armed Forces Remembrance Day to honor Nigerian fallen heroes who sacrificed their lives for the good of the nation.
Indeed, Kingsley, of course, and that's today. But let's go back in history to let you know how it all started. Of course, it was formally marked on the 11th of November every year to coincide with the Remembrance Day, otherwise known as Poppy Day, for the World War II veterans, as well as those who fought in the British, of course, on the part of the British Commonwealth of Nations, before it was changed to the 15th of January. And this was to commemorate, of course, the surrender of the end of the Biafran war with the federal troops, which ended, of course, on the 15th of January 1970.
That's right, Claire. Most importantly, it's a day dedicated to acknowledge and appreciate the supreme sacrifice paid by members of the Nigerian Armed Forces in their quest and resolve to protect and preserve the territorial integrity of Africa's most populous nation and the global capital of the black race.
Indeed, and right here in Nigeria, the Nigerian army has had to sustain the fight against terrorist activities in the northeastern part of the country, especially the resurgence of terrorism in 2019.
Well, that year, the Nigerian military was almost stretched, as it were, to the limits with our involvement in tackling other threats to national security. And those threats included banditry in the northwest and kidnapping in most parts of the Federation. And
curiously, in some quarters, there has been, some degree of what we will say lack of appreciation of the role and contributions that the military, has made in fighting, of course, national security threats. This may have come as a result of lack of understanding of the changing dynamics in the definition of internal security and the role of our military in our internal security architecture.
Well, certainly, Claire, these are some of the issues we'll be taking on in our conversation segment today. And in the world that we live in, a country's internal security has regional and at times global dimensions. And therefore, the involvement of the military in internal security isn't any longer an aberration.
Well, that's maybe true, Kingsley. It is for that reason that every Nigerian needs to reflect soberly on the sacrifices made by our fallen heroes and also our retired servicemen and women, I should add. And I believe this will go a long way in motivating those who are still in service, in active service of their nation, and of course, incentive for young Nigerians to offer to serve their fatherland in various services.
Well, Claire, that's right. Now, just 2 days ago, there was a footage of a very determined group of Nigerian young persons who were candidates of the regular intake of the Nigerian Army. They were, from the footage, quite eager to be recruited, and they were being addressed by the Chief of Army Staff at the Fagore Forest in Kano. The bit, of course, intimated of the task ahead of them. And the excitement on their faces was quite infectious, and certainly you couldn't help admiring them as they were getting on to service for the fatherland.
Kingsley, come to think of it, I'm wondering if you ever had a thought of joining, the military or becoming a soldier back in those days. I'm just imagining how the uniform would look on you, Kingsley. With your height, you've got a height.
Well, the height was height really a factor in joining the military? I think it was more of the police. Okay. You had to be broad-chested and you had to be of a certain height.
I'm trying to check.
you had to have that, but certainly, I mean, there were persons who had interest in joining the military. I certainly wasn't one of those.
I
yes.
did.
Yes, well, but I admire military personnel and have a number of them as friends.
On a very serious note, I did. I thought of joining because, of course, as I've always said, I'm a product of the Army Children's School, and I had the, ample pleasure of knowing what happened. And I nursed that ambition. But I think at the time I was told that as a lady, you weren't allowed to join the infantry.
Well, you couldn't be a combatant soldier.
Yes. So,
well, the much that one did was that during the Civil War, we acted as child soldiers in the games that we played in Benin at the time. But quite certainly, I mean, you have to doff your hat at all times to our military personnel and indeed our security forces for the enormous work that they do. And when we talk about the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, we talked about the world wars. We have also now talked about internal security, policing efforts that you find the military engaged in, plus, of course, the role that they played during the Civil War. But we mustn't also forget that Nigeria has also dispatched its own men and women and resources in peacekeeping operations around the world, whether in the Middle East and more particularly in the last 30 years in West Africa. We saw them in Liberia, we saw them in Syria. This has come at a great cost to not just our treasury, but also to our personnel. So as the milestone is being marked again this year, it provides an open opportunity to chronicle current landmark achievements by our military in tackling security challenges in the land. And this is, of course, towards fulfilling the constitutional requirements of government guaranteeing the protection of life and property.
And of course, we must all develop a culture of recognition and deep appreciation, not just for our fallen heroes, but also retired and serving military personnel as obtainable in other climes. I mean, the way, they are respected, I almost use the word reverenced, but that could very well sum up, how these men are, the recognition given to these men in other parts of the country.
How they are treated by the larger society. But more particularly, we must remember in our thoughts and prayers and goodwill the families left behind by the fallen heroes. In fact, President Muhammadu Buhari has given assurance that families of fallen heroes will have as a top priority this year their welfare, and that's cherry news. It's on that note we'd like to welcome you to this edition of Good Morning Nigeria. I'm Kingsley Osadolo.
And I'm Claire Delabu Abdul Razak. We thank you for joining us this Friday. As always, the last edition for this week. And it's happening live here on the network service of the NTA. We'll have, as usual, complimentary segments that will, of course, be including newspaper review, business news, and indeed other, maybe sports or foreign. For now, Comfort Amodo is bringing us some comforting news from the news segment. Comfort.
Good morning, Claire. And to answer your question, Kingsley, the military uniform will sure look amazing on you.
Thank you very much. And I can see your head. Yeah, it's olive green, which is a reflection of the military fatigue, I believe, or military uniform.
I thought she was going to say, yes, I also know the comfort. You just disappointed me.
All right. Now let's take the news. President Muhammadu Buhari has called on Nigerians, especially the elite, to be fair in the criticism of his administration. This was while receiving an audience, the Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Christian Programs Commission, Reverend Yakubu Pam. He was in a State House to submit a report on the Commission's peace-building efforts in parts of the country.
You tell me any of the developed countries or the developing countries that succeeded without infrastructure. And the infrastructure are roads, rail, and power. The government is doing its best, and I hope eventually our best should be good enough.
And as Nigerians Armed Forces Remembrance Day, many have been sporting the Remembrance Day emblem. But how much do citizens understand about the significance of acquiring and wearing the emblem?
The emblem, as we were made to understand, is all about our fallen heroes. That is those that have died in the course of duty, serving and securing our nation.
You are not wearing one?
I don't have one, but I want to get one now so that at least to show my support for what they have done and what they are doing at the present.
Emblem, I think to raise funds for the fallen heroes.
Emblem signifies the remembrance of the fallen heroes, which is our soldiers that fought to bring unity to this country.
In other news, the Federal Ministry of Education now maintains that school resumption date of Monday, 18th January still stands. A statement from the ministry indicates that the decision was reached after a comprehensive meeting with state governors, commissioners of education, proprietors of private schools and heads of institutions, unions, parents and students association to appraise the situation. It directs parents and respective institutions to ensure full compliance with COVID-19 protocols, such as compulsory wearing of face masks, all by students, teachers and workers. And the statement encouraged students to ensure temperature checks and hand-washing facilities at strategic locations, constant supply of water and sanitizers, enforcement and maintenance of social distancing, as well as suspension of large gatherings such as assemblies and visiting days. It also called for other measures, including limitations in class sizes and hostel occupancy, availability of functional health clinics with facilities for isolation, and transportation of suspected cases to medical facilities, among other non-pharmaceutical protocols. And the federal government has commenced a test running for electronic ticketing for Abuja-Kaduna train service. Oyinaya Kalu Oka, who was at the Edu station, reports that passengers describe the exercise as a right step in the right direction.
Now, as I came, there was no line. So I think it's a very good improvement.
It has created a new scene in this place.
We cannot even compare before and now.
Able to sign in using that particular platform. So it's a little bit of an issue now.
It seems like that website is not working well yet.
I want to assure the traveling public that we are putting everything together. Very soon everything will be okay.
Meanwhile, the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing is set to commence repairs on the Airport Road Link Bridge after carrying out due integrity tests. Minister of Works and Housing Babatunde Fashola, while inspecting the damage on one of the pairs of the bridge, gave traders under and along the Ladipo Spare Parts Market Road 2 weeks to vacate or face forceful eviction.
I have also spoken to the Corps Marshal before today to conduct a detailed investigation into the cause of that accident and also to provide us with reports about the ownership of that truck, because we'll be working with the Office of the Attorney General when the causes of the accident are known. If there is any proven non-compliance with law, we will make an example of this.
The National Youth Service Corps says adherence to COVID-19 protocols before, during and after the orientation exercise is non-negotiable. Director General NYC Brigadier General Shaibu Ibrahim was speaking while fielding questions from journalists on the level of preparedness for the next NYC orientation course, billed to commence in less than a week.
Will be tested, and those that are negative are the ones that we allowed into camp. Those that are positive, the NCDC, very capable institution, will always handle and treat them. We have already met with the NCDC where we review the two streams, and I assure you that we are going to have a hitch-free exercise. All that is better of us is that everybody must take responsibility and play by the rules.
And latest figures from the Nigerian Center for Disease Control and CDC indicate 1,479 new cases of coronavirus in 24 states, and that includes the FCT, bringing the total number of confirmed cases to 105,478 in Nigeria. Lagos reported 697 new cases, followed by the FCT, which recorded 201. Nasarawa has 80, Plateau 74, Rivers 62, Edo 46, Adamawa 43, Osun 39, and Akwa Ibom has 35. Other states recording new cases are Delta, West 31, Anambra 27, Oyo 24, Kano 21, Abia and Enugu have 19 each, Ogun 18, Sokoto 12, Bauchi and Taraba 7. Ekiti, Gombe and Imo 4 each. Bayelsa and Jigawa 2 and Zamfara has 1. Lagos, the FCT, Plateau and Kaduna remain top on the breakdown of cases per state, with 20,243 active cases being managed across the country. Now, 83,830 cases have been discharged, while the death toll has risen to 1,405. And that concludes the morning news highlight. Good morning, Nigeria continues shortly with Claire and Kinsley after this break.
A scorecard like no other. Government has put in place measures and initiatives principally targeted at youths, women, and the most vulnerable groups in our society. These included a broad plan to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in the next 10 years, the creation of 75 billion Naira National Youth Investment Fund to provide opportunities for the youths, and the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Survivor Fund, through which government is A. Paying 3-month salaries of the staff of 100,000 micro, small and medium enterprises. B. Paying for the registration of 250,000 businesses at the Corporate Affairs Commission. C. Giving a grant of 30,000 Naira to 100,000 artisans and guaranteeing market for the product of traders. These are in addition to many other initiatives such as farmer money, trader money, market money, N-Power, N-Tech, and N-Agro. These and more in spite of a recession and a global pandemic. Although social media as a channel of communication is inherently harmless, it becomes harmful and damaging when used without discretion and thoughtfulness. Bad social media users spread rumors and fake news without verification. But good social media users stop, reflect, and verify information before sharing it. Be a good social media user. Stop the spread of fake news. Verify the authenticity of your source and use social media responsibly for a better Nigeria. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, in collaboration with the National Orientation Agency. The Council of Our Fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
customer. Link your Airtel number to your national identification number today. Here are easy ways you can do it. Dial *121*1# on your Airtel line and follow the prompts on the screen. Type in your 11-digit government-approved NIN number. You will receive a confirmation message to confirm your entry. You can also visit www.airtel.com.ng/NIN to link your phone number to your NIN. If you do not know your NIN, simply dial *346# to get it. No stress, no wahala.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
After dropping 2 points from a winning position last week, Wolverhampton Wanderers will be excited to welcome struggling West Bromwich Albion to the Molineux Stadium. Will West Brom prove an easy 3 points? Find out as Wolverhampton Wanderers take on West Bromwich Albion on the Premier League Live, showing on the NTA network from 1 p.m. this Saturday. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Axis Bank, Babai Jebu, Lipton, and Close Up, in association with Gold.com.
All right, welcome back. If you've just joined in, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria. It's happening live here on the network service of the NTA. Let's talk business. And the World Bank has said the involvement of women in economic activities is key to inclusive growth. For details, let's join Chimobi Walter in Nigeria.
Stakeholders have advocated an increased participation of women in meaningful economic activities of the country as a way of attaining financial stability and strengthening the nation's economy. They were speaking against the backdrop of the research carried out by the World Bank on the participation rate of women in economic activities. They noted that women contribute greatly to nation building and development, hence the need to empower them financially.
The research says participation in economic activity. We have a stereotype in this part of the world. We think that jobs are what government provides, and then you go there and you get paid and you go home. That was ages ago. Nowadays, employment is what you generate, what you create for yourself. So women in particular have a lot to contribute in the economy. The participation rates that the World Bank has been speaking about are actually in economic participation, not necessarily in politics.
For more on business news, here is a graphic representation of trading figures at the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. With business news, I'm Chimobi Walter Naji. Many thanks, Chimobi, for the business package. Coming up next is Newspaper Review.
Time to welcome Bayo Toyebi to do his usual, and he's right here in the studio. Bayo, good morning and happy Armed Forces Remembrance Day.
Thank you, Claire. Good morning. Good morning, Kinsley. Good morning, Nigeria.
Let me pose the same question we posed to Kinsley. Did you ever think of joining the military?
Not quite, but while I was in the secondary school, I think we had a cadet corps and I was a member of the cadet. And I think I enjoyed the procedure and the routine. It helped me when I got to the youth corps. I was a squadron commander.
Oh, platoon commander.
Platoon commander.
Okay.
Platoon.
Left wheel.
Yes.
But
it was fun.
Take dressing.
When they give us the order, we just change it as a parade to refuse order. It was fun.
That would be mutiny. All right. So today is their special day, and once again, we offer our hearts to our fallen heroes for their valor and gallantry. Now let's take a look at the window page of the Daily Trust newspaper. Below the nameplate says, troops killed 2,403 terrorists, bandits, and kidnappers in 9 months. That's according to the federal government. 2,403. Details on page 6. Those are the numbers of terrorists, bandits, and kidnappers who have been liquidated in 9 months. 96 firms bid to rehabilitate NNPC pipelines and depots. That's on page 20. Be fair to my government, Buhari tells critics. Amotekun goes berserk, kills 11 in 3 weeks. Concerns over abuses in Oyo, that's one rider. Others are, we have powers to carry arms. That's according to state commanders. Regional outfit must not act like police. That's according to Amnesty International. And operatives trained with neo-colonial methods. That's attributed to Falano. Northern elders to elite rescue Nigeria from failed leaders. That's page 9. And schools resume January 18th. That's according to the federal government. 53 health workers test positive for COVID-19 in Edo. And 2023 presidency, Southwest speakers drum support for Tinubu. Claire.
All right, Kingsley. I have the Nation newspaper, and it has the lead story, how 27 states forced federal government to reopen schools. How 27 states forced federal government to reopen schools. And the writers are COVID-19 protocols to be enforced on teachers, pupils from Monday. Doctors, reopening schools now, dangerous. Well, controversy over abduction of 27 traders on Kaduna Abuja Road. It's also trending just right there above the lead caption. Let's go back to the trending stories on the front page now. Security lockdown in Washington, D.C. ahead of Biden's inauguration. It's also somewhere down just the Lagos targets 512 billion naira tax, 193 billion naira loan to fund 2021 budget. Okay, and the picture story, Alpha Jet aircraft, of course, being prepared for a test flight after in-country periodic depot maintenance, and that's the Air Combat Training Group, KNJ, in Niger State. That happened yesterday. Let me take you above the nameplates now for other stories. Government pushes up plan on 50 billion naira export expansion. Details of that on page 25. Now, hospital deceived us on Kano's recovery, says widow. It's on page 8. And Kuka, Nigeria learned nothing from civil war. Joshua to earn 100 million pounds for Fury showdown. You can read up the details for that on page 31. Bye.
Well, let's start with the report about the school resumption. The Federal Minister of Education has confirmed now that January 18 resumption day stands. This was reached from a consensus of the meeting by all the stakeholders, and those who were involved were consulted were state governors, commissioners of education, proprietors and heads of institutions, as well as staff unions and students. However, parents and institutions must ensure full compliance with COVID-19 protocols. Schools were to resume October 12th before we had the second wave of the COVID-19. To minimize any risk of transmission, the Ministry of Education, the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, and the Nigeria Center for Disease Control have reviewed their guidelines. They now include detailed communication protocols that include parents, schools, health teams, as well as school authorities. Notably, among these are compulsory wearing of face masks. All students, teachers, and workers in all schools must also wear face masks. A system of providing regular updates to parents, staff, and schools is also to be put in place. Boarding schools must have identified areas for screening and putting aside positive students. Assembly and visiting days have so far been suspended. COVID-19, we had 1,479 cases yesterday in 24 states. There were unfortunately 23 deaths, bringing our death total to 1,405. Our normal infections total is now 105,478. Again, Lagos had 697 FCT 201. Nasarawa followed in third place with 80. The 12 other states had double digits, while 8 other states have single digits. United States has had 245,000 cases in one day. They've registered 3,300 deaths in a day, and 130,000 persons are now hospitalized. There were, if you recall, 29.3 million vaccine has been distributed, and only 10.2 million people have been vaccinated. In Turkey, the Chinese vaccine, Sinovac, is now being administered. The Turkey authorities say that they have tested the vaccine before using it, and they found that it is 90% effective. But the latest development is that another variant of the virus has been discovered in Brazil. It is known as Manus variant, and it has led to 198 deaths already in the region. United Kingdom has quickly banned all travel from Brazil. UK itself is suffering from the second variant, which is ravaging the country. As at last count, they have registered 3.2 million cases. It is 6,015 deaths, and as at January 14, in a whole day, they had 48,682 positive cases. That's in fact twice the number of cases we have registered in Nigeria so far. In South Africa, the police has arrested 7,000 persons for not wearing face masks. In that country, coronavirus was mandatory wearing of face masks was made mandatory in May 2020. However, with the advent of the second variant, they are now forcing it and making sure that anybody who violates it is arrested.
Just before you leave the COVID-19 bio, two things I want to raise. And first, the variant in Brazil. Yes. I think this morning, one of the medical experts, I think, in an interview, made clarifications that the variant now in Brazil, not sure, has nothing to do with the variant either in Africa or in the UK. Yes. Apparently, the virus keeps mutating. Yes. So this is quite different from, the one in South Africa. Yes. Or the one in the UK. Now, back to the resumption of schools. I'm really concerned. Should the Ministry of Education, order the reopening of schools based simply on the decision of the majority for a critical situation such as we are in? The doctors have come up to say, look, there is need to still hold on the resumption of schools. And because 27 states or so, have gone ahead to indicate you reopen schools. So you are putting the lives of millions of children, on the line. I don't know.
Let me respond to that. On Wednesday and Thursday this week, the school resumption that we had in our conversation segment. Claire, you were not with me on set. Kirian was here on Wednesday, and Nadaba was also here on Thursday. On Wednesday, what we took on was reopening of tertiary institutions, that's to say universities, polytechnics and colleges of education. 2 vice chancellors were here on the program. Yesterday, we had a commissioner for education in Kaduna State, 2 school proprietors, 1 vice principal from Federal Government Boys College here in Abuja. And the consensus was that, look, there are good grounds to reopen the schools. There are good grounds to reopen the schools, and that the scaremongering ought to be muted. Good grounds. There are a number of, perhaps the best bet would be to say, look, play back the tapes and listen to the arguments made by the persons. And UNICEF itself has also indicated that it is not correct to say that schools are potentially a super spreader spot. South Africa has the highest caseload of coronavirus on the continent. Schools are reopened in South Africa. Obey the protocols.
In fact, simple. The arguments are that schools are regulated and regimented areas.
That's right.
They are not free like the markets, and in fact, even churches and mosques are regulated. They are controlled.
School proprietors or proprietresses, are they medical experts?
No.
Do they have the knowledge of what is going on?
Of course, doctors will raise alarm and say, look, to be on the safe side,
yes.
Be cautious and say, don't open schools. But you recall that the same thing happened last year. Secondary schools, that was the trial test. They allowed the SS3, the final year students to come. It was regulated, and we're lucky throughout the nation, apart from 13 cases that were recorded in Bauchi, and I think how many cases in Kwara, We never had any cases. There were no fatalities. They were able to manage it well. That is at secondary school level. Now that you are involving university, the level of management is more advanced, and regulation will be more firm compared to when you are dealing with younger ones.
The Vice Chancellor, Claire, the Vice Chancellor of University of Abuja was quite specific. He says, look, as Bayo was indicating in terms of regimentation or following rules, if the rule is that get tested when you are entering the campus, wear your face mask at all times. If you refuse to wear your face mask, then you face disciplinary action. And the rules are indicated in the bylaws of the university. The same thing you would find in schools. The question might then arise. I'm sure you go to the market. Last time you were at Wuse Market or Otako Market, how many of them did you see wearing face masks? Let the camera focus on so you see you smiling.
Thank you. Bayo, sorry, we have to stop you. Today is Armed Forces Day, Remembrance Day, and we need to engage the generals. They are already here, but we also have to let them go on time, to meet up with the parade.
Part of the ceremony.
Yes. So thank you for your understanding, Bayo, and please have a good weekend.
You too.
And watch the Remembrance Day celebrations. This is Good Morning Nigeria. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Nigerian youths are about the greatest assets the country has at the moment. It is therefore not surprising that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari is strategically responding to the yearnings of the youth through multiple projects and programs. Youth entrepreneurship support years by Bank of Industry, the Youth Investment Fund by the CBN, and several other conditional cash transfer programs. Recruitment of 774,000 social workers, majority of whom are youths, and so many other projects that are beneficial to youths directly or indirectly. If the administration can do all this, definitely with a degree of patience and time, it can achieve more. Nigerian youths must come together to say no to terrorism, no to vandalism, and no to all disruptive tendencies. Hashtag Youth for Greater Nigeria. Pacifying the youths, unifying the nation.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous. Whether you do it for fun or for political gains, real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
Do you know that 35% of every girl child and women are raped on a daily basis? Some are killed in the process, some take their lives in shame, others remain emotionally dead for life. It is sad. This culture is not ours, definitely not African. How did we allow bad culture to infiltrate and take over? Even if you lack fear for the law, what of fear of God? And you, why do you cover up rape acts when it happens? Remember, a problem shared is a problem half solved. Never cover any rape act because a rapist is a murderer. It could be you or your loved ones next. Women must be treated like the prize giant they are. Say no to rape.
After dropping 2 points from a winning position last week, Wolverhampton Wanderers will be excited to welcome struggling West Bromwich Albion to the Molineux Stadium. Will West Brom prove an easy 3 points? Find out as Wolverhampton Wanderers take on West Bromwich Albion on the Premier League Live, showing on the NTA network from 1 p.m. this Saturday. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Axis Bank, Babai Jebu, Lipton, and Close Up, in association with Gold.com.
Welcome back. Let's quickly remind you of our discussion today. It's on the remembrance of our fallen heroes. But let's take our background report put together by our correspondent Dennis Adegunloye to kick off our conversation.
Armed Forces Remembrance Day is celebrated annually on the 15th of January to commemorate the veterans of the 2 world wars as well as the Nigerian Civil War. Tribute is also paid to the men and women of the Nigerian Armed Forces currently engaged in the fight against terrorism, insurgency and banditry. As a former British colony, the day was previously marked on the 11th of November as Poppy Day in honor of the end of the First World War. However, upon government's victory against Biafran troops on the 15th of January 1970, the day was moved to 15th of January in commemoration of the end of the Nigerian Civil War. Armed Forces Remembrance Day is characterized by military parades involving guards of honor by the Nigerian Army, the Nigerian Navy, and the Nigerian Air Force. The peak of all events is the wreath-laying ceremony by the President at the National Cenotaph. This symbolic performance is also replicated in the 36 federal cenotaphs. Special recognition is also given to the Nigerian Legion, the Veterans Association, which organizes alongside the government the many events of the day. President Muhammadu Buhari, during the launch of this year's Emblem Appeal Fund, paid tribute to the Nigerian Armed Forces, who in the face of a pandemic have remained resolute in the quest to restore peace and security to the nation.
The nation remains grateful for the efforts and sacrifice of the armed forces, especially in the fight against insurgency and other internal security challenges confronting Nigeria. The unfortunate cost of the fight against insurgency and other internal security challenges is the unavoidable loss of lives of some of our officers and men of the armed forces. The reality is that the spouses and defendants of these breadwinners in most cases experience trauma and deprivation. I therefore call on all to spare a thought for them and take positive steps to come to their aid.
Armed Forces Remembrance Day will be the topic of discourse for guests on Good Morning Nigeria in just a moment.
Many thanks, Dennis Adegunloye, for that backgrounder. We have, in the meantime, 2 guests with us in the studios to discuss this issue and matters arising therefrom. First, let's welcome Honorable Abdulrazak Namdas. He's chairman of the House of Reps Committee on Army. Honorable Namdas, pleasure to have you with us on the program.
Thank you so much.
Also here with us in the studio is our familiar guest now, Good Morning Nigeria, General Ahmed Tijani Jibrin, former Director of Military Intelligence. General Jibrin, pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you very much. Pleasure is mine.
Thank you. All right.
Okay. All right. We have joining us from our Abuja studio. Okay. We will be having Major General Adofiku, retired immediate past Secretary General, and is also retired Army, Navy and Air Force Officers Association. Also a legionnaire, development management and security consultant. He will be joining us either by Zoom or from our Abuja studio in a moment. Kingsley.
All right, so let's begin with General Tijani Jibrin, the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, so that it isn't just a mere ritual on the 15th of January. And since we've chosen that date after the end of the Civil War in 1970, as a service personnel, what does the Armed Forces Remembrance Day mean to you and to your colleagues?
It's very, very important to know that the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, as Kingsley has said, is not just a day of ritual. It's a day set aside to celebrate our fallen heroes. And as has been said earlier, it used to be celebrated on 11th November to commemorate the fallen heroes of the Commonwealth when Nigeria was under Commonwealth. But it was changed to 15 January to commemorate the end of our civil war, then to honor those who die, and then to celebrate the living veterans. It's a very important day of reflection, of reverence, to create awareness for all Nigerians to know that today is a very, very important day in the lives of all military personnel alive. And then those who are the ones that were left behind by the veterans. It is important for Nigerians to realize that one of the best ways to honor a fallen hero is to honor, revere, and support those soldiers that are living, and support the families of those fallen heroes that are living. Their children need to go to school. The wives need to get engaged in some meaningful activities. Government is doing a lot in this direction. Recently, the three services launched a kind of support program to assist the fallen heroes, widows, and the children on how to get affordable housing. This is a very important issue for them because most of them were living in the barracks most of their lives, and then when their loved ones left, they find it difficult to resettle in the town. So with this program to assist them to get affordable houses, I think their lives are bettered. Again, the school of the children is very difficult since the breadwinner is gone. Only the widows remain and relations, and with the nature of our society, once the man is not there, sometimes even the relation find it difficult to communicate with you. So the government is doing everything possible through the three services to support the families of the fallen heroes so that they can go to school up to university level is their entitlement. And the women are giving support at the various officers who have association, vocational centers so that they can learn skill to be able to earn a living. All these things are things that are very, very important for the serving soldier. If he's seeing this happening to the families of the fallen heroes, it will encourage him to give his best to his country. Another important area is the payment of their entitlement. The military takes it very, very seriously. There are things that are arranged already part of welfare package. Immediately a soldier dies, there is something that is given to the family within the first 1 week of the death to assist the family in the burial and taking care of some of the minor things that are financially inclined. And then the government also through the three services assist in giving a large sum for the burial arrangement, because burial in this country is a very important aspect of living. So that is done to assist them. Apart from the burial, then the entitlement in terms of their death gratuity, it has now been enhanced. Since the pension has been enhanced, it has also now been enhanced. So the family of a fallen hero is likely to go home with large sum, and then the support continue through the education of the children, through the support of the family support to ensure that the wives are engaged in meaningful activities. They are encouraged and supported to form association, the widows of the fallen heroes of Nigeria. Through this association, the government is assisting the families of the fallen heroes so that they can engage in meaningful activities that will at least support them, know how they will not forget their loved ones. But at least it helps them to get engaged and be doing things meaningfully. And they meet occasionally, and also support is sought from the public to know that such association exists. Through the services they can be reached, so that well-meaning Nigerians can also make their contribution to to make the lives of the leftovers of the fallen heroes comfortable. Because when you do that one, what you're actually doing, you are also telling the living heroes that when you die, the whole country is going to look after your family. So you can go ahead and give your best to ensure that your country is safe.
Let's thank you for landing for me, General Jibrin. Let's formally again introduce Major Gabriel Adofiku, retired immediate past Secretary General, retired Army, Navy and Air Force Officers Association. He's also a Legionnaire, Development Management and Security Consultant, joining us from our studios in Jos. Major Adofiku, thank you very much for joining us. And let me quickly, I'd like for you to give us a sense of understanding within the context of the World Wars and January 15, that's the Nigerian Civil War, what today really means for you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Claire and